About 20 weeks into my pregnancy, I was diagnosed with gigantomastia. For those of you unfamiliar with the term gigantomastia, or as I affectionately called it at the time, big boob syndrome, gigantomastia, it is the rapid growth of breasts usually associated with pregnancy. Such a condition is very rare, with an incidence of 1 in 28,000 to 100,000. I wonder if the statistics on gigantomastia mirror the statistics concerning women getting tenure and promotion at a Tier 1 university while maintaining one's sanity.
At a conference hosted in a large American city on the East Coast, the conference facilities lack places to nurse. In the corridors, hallways, and common areas, I'm forced to hover on a cement floor in between sessions. The local and popular waffle shop asked my family to leave one Sunday because I was nursing in the restaurant. It's a family restaurant, after all.
The literature notes. The literature notes that for those who experience gigantomastia, it is common for each breast to gain 10 or more pounds, often in less than a month. Usually a woman goes up 1 to 2 bra sizes during the course of her pregnancy. I went up 5 to 6 bra sizes during the course of my pregnancy. My department head took a definite interest in my breasts. She was not shy with her staring, nor was she afraid to point out the hugeness of my boobs. On many occasions, she even offered tips on where to buy bras. I laughed with her, hyper aware of the strange harassment I was experiencing, hyper aware of my tenure documents working their way through the system. I always accepted her shopping tips with a thank you.
On campus, while I'm surrounded by academic women, many of whom have had children during the course of their careers, it feels as if I'm the first woman to give birth and lactate. My office is not private. I share it with 2 grad students, and the door has a large window. I'm offered an empty office space, cluttered with dusty books and empty boxes, where the only outlet for my Medulla Pumpenstyle is behind a bookshelf. For the remainder of term, I choose to invite grad students to my home or the local coffee shop, and my daughter and son always joins us. What's more natural than coffee and milk? I'm asked by a colleague if I plan on ever holding office hours.
5 months into my pregnancy, I attended a conference. I felt the strange stares from my colleagues. My breasts, now twice the size of my belly, people notice my body. They wonder, is she pregnant? Or has she gained weight as a result of the strain of the tenure process? Trying not to judge, trying hard to keep their eyes focused on my face. Many ask me about tenure. A few confide that they were my outside reviewers. I explain, oh, I will not find out about tenure until the end of the semester, about a month before I deliver. You're pregnant, they say? Outwardly relieved that the excesses of my body were not permanent.
Completing my promotion and tenure review, I find appropriate spaces on the standardized form to list international art shows, scholarly peer-reviewed papers, conferences, and a busy service record. Mentoring undergrad and graduate students and committee work has its rightful place, as do the research grants that I've been awarded. In the space between, I write in flesh and blood that I have also successfully managed to breastfeed both my daughter and son. It was a difficult beginning after a C-section, mastitis, and the usual early stages of public discomfort. In becoming mother, I write, image, teach, research my lines between my daughters and my sons. Or as Renee Norman suggests, I write on top of small scrawls and drawings, not to erase them, but so our writing is fused. This living in between the lines reminds us that the personal experiences are narratives that run alongside the dominant discourse, in such a way as not to mirror it, but to disrupt it, and to render it malleable and in motion.
1 month before the delivery of my son, I received tenure and promotion. 6 months after the birth of my son, I had breast reduction surgery. Four months later, I received my year-end evaluation from my department head. Let me just get rid of this, since I obviously reviewed it. described my teaching and advising as very strong. She described my research and scholarship as good. Mind you, that year in particular, I had co-authored and edited a book, published 4 book chapters, 1 book review, and 1 article in a referee journal, and she described my service to the university, college, and program as considerable. 1 week after I received this review, I made an appointment to speak with my department head, curious to know what she meant by the words strong, good, and considerable, in light of the fact that I had been on maternity leave for half of the year. I also was curious to know why my leave had not been mentioned in my review letter. Instead of explaining to me, she laughed a bit, mentioned something about my smaller breasts, and then asked if I was going to be one of those associate professors who continued to have babies instead of rising to the rank of full professor.
Exposing aspects of life after birth, I created a series of work titled Nurse In and Spillage as a way to inquire into the visceral experiences of mothering. Repulsion coupled with the necessity of nurture, materialized out of felted human hair and wool, the breast pump and its part, breast shield, milk storage containers, pads, and hoses, elicit discomfort and animate the uncertainty of meaning. Their functionality has been disrupted and made ambivalent, rupturing the commonality of domestic warmth with metaphors of the leaky, fleshy, and weighty body. Although the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that mothers breastfeed exclusively for 6 months and if possible up to 1 year, citing that breastfed infants require less medical care in the long run, fewer than 1/3 of all new mothers in the United States continue breastfeeding beyond the first few weeks. Self-conscious about exposing themselves and the difficulties of finding spaces where nursing seems acceptable and possible are cited as primary reasons. The visual culture of the breast in Western society is one of sexuality, not maternity. The visual symbols we associate with breasts are of the Pamela Anderson variety, plump with silicone, not milk, smooth, hard, and perky. The abject leaky breast, blue-veined with dark areola and a large protruding nipple, is absent from our visual culture. Moreover, breastfeeding in public exposes one's mothering skills to public scrutiny in a culture that celebrates the disciplining of the body. Nurse In and Spillage negotiate breastfeeding and mothering as a personal experience, disrupting its social and cultural constructions. The artworks represent the tensions between nurturing and productivity, discipline and intimacy, family and work. Human hair attests to the vulnerability and uncertainty of the maternal body and the fragility of the terms that define and shape mothering.
Our theorizing of mothering and breastwork and the relationship to a body curriculum seeks to offer new narratives about what it means to be in excess. Breastwork is an understanding of excess, not as something to be expelled, but as force, desire, and relationality. Excess is meaning as evocation, as provocation, calling us to the unnamed, to something else altogether. Excess is that which is created when control and regulation disappear, and when we grapple with what lies outside of the acceptable. Excess may deal with the monstrous, the wasteful, the leftover, and the unseen, as well as the magnificent and the sublime. It is also the as yet unnameable and the never yet known, those aspects of our lives and experiences that are potentials and filled with possibility. Janet Miller observes that traditionally research, writing, and pedagogy are practices that contain and regulate excess. However, as Peggy Phelan points out, representation always conveys more than it intends. This excess creates a supplement that makes multiple and resistant readings possible and prevents the reproduction of the same meaning or sense from one reading of a text or event to the next. Excess becomes that which exceeds the norms, that which is unexpected, creating ruptures and gaps, making a full, complete, or adequate understanding of the world impossible.
Thank you.